Welcome to the room. I'm Debbie, and while I wait for people to come on in here and show up, I just want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you guys for being here and staying tuned. I know these really pop up with a little bit of notice, and I appreciate you guys being down and flexible. Obviously, this one is a extra special one to me because it has my two main men who will be joining me in a second. But first, I'm seeing all of you guys' thumbs up. I'm seeing all of you guys' hearts. And that's really exciting. I love when you guys engage and it's letting me know you guys are enjoying the conversation. So, right now, if you want to just grab the link and throw that onto your Instagram or your Facebook and share it with friends, and a good handful of us can continue chilling and listening to the conversation. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm mostly excited to talk with these guys because obviously they are my two best friends in the world and the two people that I know the best. So, well, I guess with a little bit of further ado, how about I go post this on my Instagram and you guys post it on your Instagram too and let everyone know like we are live. We are here to hang and here to party. Oh, I'm seeing all of you guys pop in. That means so much to me. Thank you so much for being here and thank you so much for doing this. This means a whole lot. And thanks to Facebook for hosting these. I think the live audio rooms are really exciting. You know, you can just sort of chat. I think probably over the last year, we've all been on some Zooms and some FaceTimes. And while those are really important, I think the idea of just listening and not having that pressure to sort of be visible and we can really focus on, voices, that's important. I have a podcast called There You Are Pod that I have been recently relaunching and working on with my brother. And he's just such a genius and he's so good at that. So that's been a really meaningful platform and like medium for me to share these things. And I love that, the sort of Facebook Live audio of it all allows us to do that and connect voice to voice. And yeah, I like it a lot. It sort of reminds me, I have people, I love, it's easy to sort of go on Instagram and scroll and be like visually attracted to all of that. And I think it's so nice to be able to just shut your eyes and listen. I think it's really, really huge. It reminds me of listening to talk radio or listening to podcasts. And I know when I or my brother or Josh play video games, they listen and they're able to talk sort of on comms. And that is such a good medium to be able to just hear each other's voice and talk directly to it. And it honestly feels a little bit safer to sort of have that conversation. You guys can just be talking to each other. My brother and I, who is going to be on here in a second, we lived in Germany when we were younger. And when we lived in Germany, there was no like, there were very few cell phones and everything was really expensive. And we would call on a landline and it was so expensive per minute to be able to call back to the United States. And I just remember like being on the phone and having a phone and being able to talk voice to voice to someone as such a luxury. So I think it's really cool in this medium as well. And I see all of you guys' thumbs up and your hearts. And so I want to just thank you guys again for joining. If you're just joining us, feel free to share this link on your Facebook, on your Instagram, and then you can listen with your friends, be texting back and forth and showing us love and hearts and thumbs up on the conversation. So, without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to my two favorite boys, to my two best friends. So, first, I'm going to go in order of the people I've known the longest. Chase, I've known since the moment I was born. Chase is a media producer, and in addition to music production and audio engineering, videography, and photography, he just happens to be the best big brother on the planet. He's so
Oh,
instrumental in everything that I do. And yeah, he also works on a few podcasts, including the aforementioned There You Are, which has recently returned to your favorite podcast platform. So if you want to check it out, and welcome, Chase.
hey, what's up?
What's up, Chase? I'm seeing all these thumbs up and hearts for you. People
I
love you.
know. I'm very flattered. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for showing up. This is really awesome. I'm
So
getting to talk with my two favorite people, so it's great.
yay. You're my best friend. I love you. You always
You're
have
mine.
been, and you're my hero. And we hang out a lot and we talk a lot. And I think this is such
Yes.
a good space to share this conversation, especially alongside Josh. So for those of you guys who might not know, Josh Dunn, as people call him, is a drummer. He's the coolest drummer I've ever seen. And I mean, he has his own like custom drum sets with SJC and he sort of he's like a legend. But he also, you may know him as like half of the band 21 Pilots. He's certainly the coolest roommate I've ever had. No offense, Chase. It's a close
No,
call.
no, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
And we happen to be married in like a matrimonial sense. So I think he's cool,
That's the
even
best
though I see
sense.
him so much. So Josh, what's up? Welcome.
You made me sound way cooler than I am.
Josh,
Well,
no,
I see
no,
you.
you're
Hear
the
me?
best.
I see you as way cooler than you are. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's
can hear
true.
you. Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
This is great. Yeah, I think it's not like a phone call or an audio platform until everyone's like, "Can you hear me now?" Good.
Right. Well, yeah, you gave me these headphones that I've never used before, so how am I supposed to know if they're gonna work or not?
How I have no idea. I wasn't supposed to know. I have no idea. It was actually sabotage. I muted them so I could do what I do in most of our relationship and just talk.
Yeah.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, people are showing up, so thank you guys for coming on to this conversation and hanging out. And I feel like in terms of my family and my closest people, I feel like, I'm happy to share like cool experiences that I have with the world and outfits and coffee and like recipes and stuff that is a little bit more inconsequential. But I do feel protective of my most important relationships. And very rarely do I sort of exist in this personal and sort of intimate capacity in front of people. And I know you guys are both very intentional about sort of not you're not really attracted to sharing tons with the world. So I appreciate you
Yes,
guys
yeah.
being here and chatting.
Of course. I think it's pretty interesting because we have these kind of conversations, the three of us and more of our family and stuff all the time, but like you're right, we just kind of don't tend to bring people into more of this kind of intimate space. And it's exciting. It's cool to see all the thumbs up and people are coming in to listen to it. And it's pretty awesome. Thank you guys again for coming.
Yeah. And thanks.
Did
Thanks. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say this is great. I love you guys. This is so
I
cool
love
to
oh,
to
Dude,
talk to
I
you.
love you
family.
guys. I love to
Family.
talk to you
Family.
I
guys.
love you guys. Family.
Sometimes we're just sending memes back and forth and
Most
it's
of the
nice to
time.
do something a little
Yeah.
longer form
Yeah,
most of the
Yeah.
time.
yeah. I would say
Um,
a good 90% of the time is memes.
is memes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of, we're all very inquisitive and there are a few
Hmm.
burning questions. So I would say if you guys are just joining us, I'm here with Chase, my big brother, who is a very talented media producer, Josh, my husband, who's a very talented drummer, two of the coolest guys I've ever known, and the reason I am half as cool as I am. The rest of that was all me, baby. Um, but yeah, speaking of why we are the way that we are, I wanted to throw to Josh. Do you have any questions? You want to hit us with the first question and get this thing rolling?
I have a question. Yeah, I guess this is just basically a giant audio meme that we're sending back and forth to
Yeah,
each other.
yeah, that's true.
Uh,
Yeah, so this is included in 90% of memes.
Thanks
Yeah,
yeah,
for coming to our
like
audio meme.
audio meme,
yeah,
Thanks for
yeah,
thumbs upping our audio meme,
audio meme.
everyone.
yeah. No,
Thank
that's
you, Facebook,
appreciated.
for hosting this audio meme.
Yeah, thank you. Um, all right, so yeah, I guess both of you guys are married, which is cool. That's sweet.
Yes,
Um,
yeah,
my
it's sweet.
um, so
Sick.
my question is,
Sick.
you guys being brother and sister and growing up together and living with one another for so much of your life, how has that prepared you for marriage and having a spouse roommate?
Oh, yeah.
Such a good
Um,
question.
that's a great question. I think to start with a little bit of background, I think Debbie and I have had a very interesting and probably different upbringing. I mean, we moved around a lot. We had different social and educational environments that kind of changed us in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But because we were moving around so much, and I mean, it was great because we got to experience a lot of different places, different culture, different food.
Mm,
Um, but I would say uh, being kind of transient, it didn't allow us to set up what we'd think of as like traditional roots.
Yeah.
So we kind of were mostly that constant. Like Debbie, like we say, like Debbie said that, you know, I'm her best friend. That's been since we were kids. Like that started really, really early on because no matter where we'd go, we were at least the person who is always there.
Yeah. The only person who was
The
always
only
there, like
person.
the only
Yeah,
person in
yeah.
their age
I
range.
won
Yeah.
out of default.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I won by default. No, but like, you know, that kind of happens when you're younger and then later on you choose your family as you grow older. And you know, I think our relationship definitely changed a lot as we grew older where we knew who the other person was and we got to see the other person develop and grow a lot. But as we started getting older, I think a big thing that was really instrumental is we kind of became like a sharpening stone for each other, like iron, you know,
Yeah.
sharpening iron. Whenever like we'd see something that we didn't like in the other person, or we see, you know, like we would basically just kind of challenge each other in everything, in our work, in our personal lives, in our relationships.
Yeah.
And we were the person that we like. For Debbie, she was the person who I always knew wasn't judging me, you know,
Yeah.
like I would say, you know, how I was feeling about a certain situation, like my true thoughts and feelings, and I maybe wouldn't even realize what they were until we talked about them, you know, which
Mm.
you kind of, so I'm sorry, you kind of ended up being a default therapist for me. But
Same.
yeah,
Likewise.
that actually just happened too. Like when I was in town, Debbie and I were just, you know, playing piano and singing and like hanging out, and we were just kind of doing what we always do now, which is kind of a stream of consciousness and figuring out who we were and what we were thinking. And I realized something that I didn't know until I said it out loud. And
Yeah,
that
exactly.
became something that's so fundamental to my relationship with Debbie. And the only other person I have that with now is my wife Sarah. Like that became my relationship with my sister, and growing together and like learning how to be better, and improve myself like through the lens of that other person. Like that has been pretty instrumental. And now I take that in with Sarah, and we're constantly trying to, you know, challenge each other, and we feel like we're in a safe space where we can communicate the things that we want to be better at, and we don't
Yeah.
feel judged or anything, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. I think that that's such a that's such a true and thoughtful and interesting and complicated dynamic. And I think you
Mm-hmm.
put it so beautifully. I mean, I think when you grow up bearing witness to someone, especially
Oh
someone
yeah.
who is experiencing something slightly staggered from the time that you are, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
just a couple years difference, it really, you know, and also someone who cannot get anything from you failing or succeeding, their investment is only in their love for you. Like
Yeah.
that is so huge because it is so true. And there, of course, with that as adults comes like a lot of complication of being like, oh, I see you so much and I know you so well that I maybe would be more tactful or gentle or tender with other people or tolerate more
Yes.
with other people. And
Yeah.
Josh has definitely called me out on that where he's been like, you are being a little aggressive and rough right now. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's because with other people, like
Mm-hmm.
feel like I have to sort of tiptoe around if they don't know my heart and you know me so well and you know that my fierceness only comes from like believing that you're an actual superhero and only wanting the best for you. And so, but
Yeah.
I also think that that has applied, you know, even in just in sharing and bearing witness and sharing
Very nice. Yeah.
hobbies and sharing responsibilities and sharing toys. And I think that
Yeah.
another thing as well is like, you know, you always joke that I'm your little brother. Like
Mm-hmm.
there I grew up because we were each other's sort of turnkey built-in best friend and we were each other's like mentors and hobbies and essentially like you know now Josh and I box together and we take turns holding the mitts for each other, right, and sharpening each
Yeah.
other, and that
Oh.
like that was so informed by you and I taking turns helping each other with the subject in school that one of us was had more of a propensity for.
Mm-hmm.
And like we would go and play around in the forest when we lived in Germany and army crawl around and make
Yeah.
things and if you were like
Chess
let's play
clubs. Yeah.
video games, chess
Yeah.
club, like, and it was never like, you know, okay, the boys are playing video games and riding bikes and the girls are painting their nails. It was like together, you know, do we want to go like cook a meal or do we want to like bake dessert or do we want to play video games or do we want to do one and then the other? So it I
Oh
think
yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
it knocked down
it
like
was a mix of all of those. Like
all
I
of
would
them.
play,
Yeah.
yeah, Barbies with you, and then you'd play Rogue Squadron with me, and we'd go out and we'd play croquet together. You know, it's like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was.
I think that that allows us to be both, so like it allows, you understand things about Sarah and hold space for Sarah
Mhm.
in ways, and having a roommate that has sort of different tendencies, but it doesn't feel the sort of distinction between like, this is what I'm going to do and this is what you're supposed to be into. It just felt like ev- there was no boys club. It felt like everything was accessible to all of us, and we just
Yeah,
wanted each other to be like as good as possible, so that the person we were sort of sparring against was making us better, and so
yeah,
and
true.
that's now in
Yeah.
conversations and in media, and how much you've helped with There You Are, the podcast, and how much like, the things that in my life that I've learned from my experiences that I feel like I can share to you, and that you ask me for. And that's a cool thing about adulthood too, is we grow in such different ways, so that now we're just both adults, and there is no sort of
Yes.
age
Yeah.
difference because our experiences are so different, but also
Hmm.
so rooted in similarity. And that shows up, I think, in everything that I do with Josh and in our marriage. Josh, like, there's so much that I feel like I just respect the fact that you have your own thing going on and you're doing your own thing, but we're doing it as teammates and as roommates and
Hmm.
as people who share that, and as people who are, you know doing things so separately and then coming back together and doing things together, and that, like, extends from everything from our separate careers to our separate hobbies and friendships, to TV shows and movies that we watch and music that we like that's different or the same. And in like
Hmm.
raising a dog, I would say like the biggest way is raising a dog. And I like
Oh
our
yeah.
dogs, Chase and Sarah's dog, and Josh and my dog Jim, like they are best friends and they just play
They're
together, and they're just
they love each other so much.
sweet
Yeah.
little monsters. They just love each other and they get each other all like riled up. And I know that, like, even just watching how two people come together to raise a dog, and not only apply discipline to like ourselves, but also to this creature that relies on us to show him what life is and what he needs to
Hmm.
survive and be happy, and to love and to experience those things. Like, I think it's so informed by growing up bearing witness to another person and having another person bear witness to me. So
Yeah.
as we're talking about dogs, both of you are
Dog dads.
dog
Dog
dads
fathers.
to
Heck yeah.
dog fathers
Dog
to
Yeah.
dog.
big dogs. And I
You
know,
come
like,
to me. Yeah.
you come to me on the day of our Facebook audio meme. um,
uh,
I know that, like, Chase, you and I grew up with a dog, definitely a little dog, and having a big dog is way
yes.
different. And you and
Oh.
Sarah have raised Sam so beautifully, and they're the same age. With Josh, you didn't really grow up with a dog. And I remember when I went away to go film for several months, and you had been thinking about it for a long time, and you were like, I really want to do it. I really want to adopt a sweet little puppy and parent him. And I was like, our lives are so complicated and transient. How are you going to do this? And you did it, and you made it work, and we now have such a beautiful relationship with him. So I wanted to ask both of you, like, how your lives have changed with a dog,
Hmm.
and also like what you've learned from them.
Yeah, man, I think dogs are amazing. I think it's interesting thinking about siblings and what, and what growing up with just, I mean, other like kind of people around all the time. And I was really close with my siblings and as well. And then I moved out of my parents' house after high school, and I lived with other people, and really lived with people until I was probably 25 or so, maybe even a little bit older. And so I think it was around the time that I was just about to buy a house, and kind of, live on my own. And yeah, Debbie, you and I were dating, and and I think you were just about to leave to go film a show out of state, and it was like this moment for me where I was like, this is the first time that I'm just going to be living in a house by myself, and that's kind of weird. And so the thought of getting a dog, and I never really grew up with dogs, um, at all. I guess my family got a dog when I was like 16, and I think at that point I was kind of just over it. and it was too late for me. Um, so because I just had other things to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I never really knew or understood the responsibility of taking care of another of a of a creature.
Right.
But I like the idea of having something around, and even if it's not a person like I'm used to living with, having something that just runs around, and I think like you said too, the responsibility is really nice as well, and then also just I mean because when you're in a place alone and there's a dog, it doesn't make it feels like you're not alone. Dogs are awesome.
Yeah.
So for all the
Yeah.
non-dog people in here, you should get a dog.
Get a dog.
Yeah.
But so and then so Jim was a puppy, and then when you were back and we're kind of getting used to us having a dog, it was I think that was a really fun time too. And it was we would leave places early. We would leave friends' houses early or whatever, and be like, we got to go feed our dog. And it kind of
Awesome.
it changed our life in a way that I really enjoyed, and I thought that it was fun, and it kind of gave us responsibility together, to kind of just make sure, and and then all of a sudden you have like you bought this thing and put it on the fridge. Did you feed the dog today? And you check it, and
Yeah.
and that's it's fun. It's like almost every morning. It's just like, hey, did you feed Jim? Am I feeding Jim? And I think that it's a fun kind of team
Yeah.
effort to kind of like take care of a dog, and also um, training a dog is fun, and it's just they're good to have around. They're good companions, and they're just easy too, and they make you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the teamwork thing that you said, like you're right. It's such a when you have your first dog kind of like on your own, because like Debbie said, we grew up with dogs, but it was way different when I got my first dog, and it's like it's just a crucible of teamwork. Like the communication with your partner is so on, like you need that absolutely, or
Totally.
because then you both realize, oh, like right now I have a timer set because my dog is on like anti-allergy medicine, so I know in the next 3 hours I need to get it. And
Right.
then there, like you were saying, like the routine, it's kind of nice to have these routines that are helping build your relationship together. It's not just your relationship with the dog, which, like as you said before, you start to, Sarah and I had that same realization. You wake up and you realize, like, this is a being who is completely reliant on you for their health, their safety, their happiness. And when we got Samwise, our dog, he was real when we adopted him. He was really, really sick. Like he had all kinds of problems, like parasites and kennel cough, and he was on a ton of medication, neutered, so he couldn't really walk very much. So it was basically like having a child, and we were just like carrying him around everywhere and having to like go through these like routines and be like, okay, he's restless, he can't sleep, it's 2 or 3 in the morning, who's going to take care of him right now? It really does kind of force you into a different perspective. I think, also you don't realize how little you take care of yourself sometimes until you're forced to take care of another
Mm.
being. So like,
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't realize that. I was like, I remember taking Sam, and like again he couldn't walk at that time, so I like was picking him up and taking him upstairs. I was taking him out on walks because he couldn't get his muscles atrophy and stuff like that. So we were taking him outside to get used to the neighborhood, and I was really realizing, I've just been staring at a screen for the last 3 weeks and working, and I haven't been on a walk. I'm walking my dog, and I haven't walked myself. Like,
Oh, wow.
it
Yeah.
starts to kind of like reprioritize things in your mind. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're 100% on. We had the same, I think, experience with it's just so helpful for like teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And it definitely, I would say, in addition to those things, and definitely one of those things is like he just reminds me that there's time for play, there's time for
Mm-hmm.
rest, and that is like time to take care of yourself. And I think you're right, like outsourcing that and having someone around. And again, like the key of having someone bear witness to you and you bear witness to someone, like
Yeah.
it just is like I know that if I'm sad or if I'm in a real low and I can't get off the couch, like it can be a vacuum of time that doesn't feel real. And he is sort of is outside of me that I can project that onto and have as a reference point and have as a touchstone that gets me out of, whatever's going on, but also makes me feel allowed to be connected to it. And,
Mm-hmm.
dogs, like playtime is very important. Treats are very important, but
Yes.
that like if you give them healthy, fortifying, nutritious food that you feel good about, that is going to like allow them to be strong and healthy and feel good, then they enjoy the treats even more, and like
Mm-hmm.
the importance of sleep and rest and being like, no, I'm tired. I need to sleep right now. Like they're so just like all instinct. And that is really helpful for me. I feel like I can get into my own head. So I do think that those are in my relationships, in my relationship with myself, but also definitely in relationship to like bearing witness to this like just instinct oriented animal as our sort of
Yes.
third roommate. He's great. And also like watching him interact with our cat and being like, oh yeah, like he has to learn the lesson constantly that like not everyone plays the same way he does. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone rests at the same
Yes.
time, and that
Yeah.
different animals and creatures need different types of rest and levels and amounts and times. So yeah, definitely all those things. Um, for anyone who might just be joining us, I'm Debbie. I have a podcast called There You Are. Right now, we're doing these live audio sessions. Today is very, very special because I am with my big brother, Chase Ryan, who
Hi.
is a media producer, produces podcasts, produces music, and does videography and photography, and always has been one of those guys who just touches something and excels at it, and is my teacher and my best friend and a meme lord. And my husband, Josh, who is a
I
drummer
need
and
to
a
add that to my
sweetheart.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, meme lord slash other things.
Other things. Yeah.
um, yeah, my husband Josh is a drummer and a real sweetie and cutie and rock star uh and also happens
Rockstar
to be
boyfriend.
a talented musician. Yeah, according to the Daily Mail, my rock star
I'm gonna
boyfriend.
add sweetie and cutie to my LinkedIn.
Oh, please do. I like that.
Sweetie
That's good.
slash
Yeah,
cutie
Slash
slash
cutie
other
slash other
things.
things.
yeah, yep.
Um, Yeah, let me know if you guys want me to to help you with a branding choice. I'm good at
Yeah, yeah.
adjectives
Please,
and nothing
yeah,
else.
yeah. You
uh,
need to spiff up our resumes.
I got you. Watch
Got
this.
us.
So yeah, we have talked a little bit about doing life with siblings, doing life in marriage, doing life with dogs, and how much we love dogs, and
We love
how
dogs.
our relationship with those things. And then I would say, okay, you both are people who are obviously sort of self-employed, and with
Hmm.
pandemic, the self-employed, but also sort of so many of us just really got so far into our homes, and we are working out of our homes, and we are balancing working in our space and still being a person. And you're both really motivated people, insanely motivated people, to the point where like sometimes I think particularly like I would like if you rested more, but I can't do it, so I would like to take my own advice. But I would say like you also have both have a really good balance of I think it can be easy, and something that I've heard from a lot of people is that when we all begin to sort of work at home or be in our own homes, the days all blur together, and it can be hard to be like, okay, now it's work time. Now it's move my body time. Now it's protect my mental health time. Now it is rest time. Now it is watch TV time. And if you're doing all of those things in your bedroom or in your space, in your living room, it can be really hard to stay motivated. I definitely found that there were a couple months where it was really scary and my mental health was not good. I was
Yeah.
really confused and concerned, and you guys really both helped me sort of see through that and stay connected to what was healthy and fortifying me, and help me through that. But I think that that's because you guys are both so good at staying motivated, and also like discipline, understanding like now is the time to do this thing. And then the hardest thing I think for a lot of us who are like maybe productivity brained and like you have to
Mm,
hustle to be valuable, it can be hard to be like, okay, great, I have done the thing, and now is the time to just to be a person, and it is
Yeah,
enough
to
to be a
turn it off.
person. Yeah. And so I guess I want to know from you guys, how do you balance working in your space or, saying now is work time and now is being a person time?
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and also self-employed just sounds funny as like I just like I'm a drummer in a band, but I also like to think of myself just like as a businessman instead. Like if people ask what I do, I'm just like I'm just a business guy, you know?
Just a business guy doing
Um,
business.
I'm a
yeah,
business man.
yeah. But I think, yeah, I think for me personally, I'm less of a like productivity, like obviously for everybody it feels good to be productive and to like, feel like at the end of the day, it's just, was today a productive day? Did I get everything done that I needed to get done? And that feels good, but I don't think that I don't think that I really kind of fall into that category of just like trying to check boxes of kind of like things that I've gotten done throughout the day. But what I do think helps me to kind of keep on track and getting the things done that I need or want to get done is I guess just sort of being obsessed with the things that I that I have to do. And so
Yeah.
it's and I realize that not everybody has, things in their life that they're kind of wild about, that like
Right.
that they can't stop thinking about. For me, probably around the age of like 10 or 11, I think it was just music. It started off with the trumpet for me, which is very different from the drums, but that's sort of where the journey began, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and so I got a trumpet and I just started playing it and I couldn't stop, and it was kind of just like an obsessive thing where it was just like I need to do this,
Mhm.
and then and
Personally, I
then
would say I am glad you have stopped because I can't imagine waking up and falling asleep and there just being trumpet in the house all
Yeah.
day. Even
I
though
mean,
you're such a talented musician and I support you in everything you do, trumpet feels like 13 hours a day of that would be a lot.
and you think drums are better?
That's a good question. That is a good
There's
question. I am now
there's
going
no
to,
melody. There's
There's no melody. Yeah, it's true.
yeah.
well, maybe because I met you when you were already good at the drums. I would say probably learning trumpet might be what's grading.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The learning process of any instrument is hilarious, and
Oh yeah.
I say it all the time, but my parents deserve an award for allowing me to play drums in their basement. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, I just did it all the time. And when I wasn't behind a drum set, I was like falling asleep in bed with a pair of drumsticks and just hitting my knees before I fell asleep, and just trying to figure out drum beats. And the moment that I was able to separate my limbs and hit something with my right hand, and my left foot was doing something different, I was hooked, and that was kind of
Oh.
something that I just couldn't really get enough of. And then I think, I mean, I think at this also, I think you can become obsessed with things and really enjoy doing things in your life that might not become a career or make you money, but that can still be good for you. And so I think over the past year and a half, when it was kind of my life for the past decade has just been touring and playing shows, has not been that. And so then it's kind of just like, well, what do I do now, to kind of fill my time?
Hmm.
And it was still a lot of drumming, but then I think you kind of just running and boxing are two things that I also just became obsessed with, and like kind of once I started it, and pushing through the initial moments of uncomfortability within anything that you try are tough and vulnerable and scary. Um, but I remember those initial moments with drumming, running, and boxing, and it's hard, but
Yeah.
but there was something that was kind of inside of me that was just like, I have to keep doing this, and I want to get good at it. Skateboarding when I was younger, And then once you start to feel that progress and start to feel yourself getting good at something, that's when it really becomes fun.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and you just want to see how good you can get at it.
Yeah, those little like
Yeah.
rewarding dopamine hits of being like, well, now I want to just keep getting better and better and feeling that the progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I enjoy that feeling so much, and the challenge of trying to get myself to excel at something. And I think there are ways of doing that outside of just being self-motivated. I have often just tried to surround myself with people that are better than me at those
Oh
specific
yeah.
things, which is why I hang out with Chase a lot. Um, and
I think I
because I think that
audibly blushed just then. It was very, I'm very
um,
red now.
yeah, it's I think that's I honestly I think that's one of the biggest things for me. It's just I and it can be daunting to be around somebody that's better than you at something that you're trying to do as well. But I think if you can kind of put your own sort of ego and pride aside, then there's a lot that you can learn from people who've maybe been doing something longer than you, or learn to do
Oh
it in
yeah.
ways that you've never thought of, who've just put in more time and more hours, and you could be that somebody to someone else too. But
Yeah.
I think that's another motivator, and surrounding myself with people who play music. That's been a lot of my life, but then more recently, people who run, and people who enjoy boxing, and those things.
Mhm.
You learn so much more and so much quicker, and just keep you going and keep you into it, and keep you motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chase?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think my answer will be a little bit shorter in this because I'm terrible at this. I'm very bad at self-motivation because I think in the opposite vein of that, I have like too many things that I want to do that I get obsessed with. So I think for people with I think Debbie has a lot of this as well. I think people with this kind of brain, it can be, especially people who are in the creative space that are self-employed. I think we have a hard time treating ourselves as a business, like business people, just doing business people stuff. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not very, So I knowing that naturally keeping myself, I'll be motivated for too many things. Um, Ways that I
Yeah.
work to
You,
try and like not keep myself distracted, I have to basically overplan everything I do. So I have very strict calendars and like project management software, like a ton of alarms and lists. Debbie, I know how much you love lists, like, and that's kind of like the premise of the new format
the
of your
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
there
are.
you
Yeah,
are.
it's definitely something that you and I both connect on. And you've
Mm-hmm.
showed me some of those tools like Trello and like whatever, where it does help you sort of look at everything that you need to do and pick what's important and choosing. And I would say for you, you're really good at staying motivated. The thing that I wonder about with you is at what point do you say, okay, I know that our family, the way that both of our parents are,
Yeah.
they are people who are like, this needs to be done. I'm going to do it until it is
Yes.
done. And like with sort
Yeah.
of not enough consideration of themselves and their rest.
Yes. Yeah.
And we inherited that. and
Yes, we did.
and a lot of
Yeah.
the work is around us choosing to say, like to avoid burnout and to go, okay, great,
Mm-hmm.
I've done enough for the day, or maybe I haven't. Like you taught me, art is never finished, only
Only
abandoned. And
abandoned.
there
Yeah.
has to become a point at which you say, I've done well enough and I need to rest, because now when I choose to, and resting could be watching a movie, watching a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
zoning out, like literally doing
Yeah.
a hobby, whatever that is, because that is now going to be able to refortify me so that I can operate out of a place of health and
Yeah.
excitement again. And like Josh said, like staying inspired and staying obsessed with the thing. And you are really good at being structured. So how you found that balance and grown towards being able to be a person and make time to like make dinner for your wife and hang out with her and
Mm-hmm.
walk your
Yeah.
dog, like that is something I'm so interested in.
Yeah. I mean, I have to, though, like how you said, like I have to kind of, I will, just because of how we were raised, like it's so not second nature to me. So I have to kind of seem like myself as boss Chase mode, and then telling future Chase what to do. Like I do like the big picture stuff in scheduling it, and then present me is always trying to just stay on track, and that's how I'm able to like say, okay, I'm off at these times. I'm gonna like make this time for dinner with my wife, or I'm gonna call my family, that kind of stuff, or I'm gonna like research. Like that stuff's important for me to be able to actually schedule now and keep myself on track. Because if I don't, I'm just gonna I'll wake up and it's 3 and I'm still working or doing something else. I won't make the time for me. And
Mm.
I used to be, I think, a lot like Josh in that like I would I would get really in a different way though, because I would go to concerts and be inspired and go home and like write a song or, you know, but what I realized is like it's so hard to catch lightning in a bottle more than once, like, it's hard to depend on that as my motivation. So for me, I just get my inspiration and my creativity from like outside sources, like going to a concert or having people like you and Josh, who are inspirations to me, that are great at what you do. And then I have to find my motivation as a separate thing internally, just kind of make a structure for myself. Because without structure, like left to my own devices, I'm just going to be working until till 3 a.m. And neglect relationships. And it's not healthy. So as long as, I know what I need to get done, it makes it a little bit easier for me to enjoy things like hobbies and do things for relaxation. Um, Speaking of which, Josh, you were talking about so boxing and running. Like this is a big thing that everyone who's on here, I'm sure, sees you guys on social media are always like boxing or running, even when you're out of town. Like if you're traveling or on tour, which I think is crazy, by the way. Like I have no idea how the stuff that I was just telling you guys about, all of the lists and everything, that goes out the bag when I start traveling. So I have no idea how you do like it just all goes away. But like, do you guys do you guys consider those hobbies for you? Do you have any other hobbies or interests outside your career or running and boxing? Do you see that as hobbies, or is that just something that you guys do?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I can speak a little bit towards this, which is that to me, I have discovered that consistency, because to your point, like when you are traveling all the time, where you are staying in a hotel or you're staying in an apartment while you're shooting and then flying and there's a layover and whatever, like when there is so much inconsistency in your space, the things that sort of become home and like your rhythms and your comfort and your familiarity are behaviors. And so whether that's like watching the same show every night before bed, or whether that is like, making sure you always hear the same thing, or like just routines, those things can become a touch point of like what feels like home. And that I
Mm,
think was important for us to have, because then when we actually stopped traveling during the pandemic, then the patterns and the habits and the routines became what kept us feeling like sort of connected and sane and grounded, and having a touchstone in the different thing, which was just being home all the time, and that was a change, right? And so those patterns and routines, which I will be honest, it's definitely something Josh is so much better at, especially like
mm,
boxing and running and moving your body. He's so much better at just figuring out times to do. I feel like I'm always negotiating with it. Well, I'm a little tired, or I'll do this. And so because
yeah.
of that, I now have done a little bit of reworking around being around him, reworking in my brain of knowing, okay, if I have a long day, instead of saying, well, then I don't have time to move my body in the morning, I actually say I have a long day, which means in order to have the longevity and the like stamina and the strength to do that and the mental clarity to do that, I should move my body. And it doesn't have to be like to the point of exhaustion or fatigue or soreness, but just enough to get that sort of like shot of energy in my brain and in my body. And I also sometimes I feel like, I don't know if I've even spoken publicly about this, but I've talked with you guys about this. Like, feel very disconnected from my body sometimes. I feel very like sort
Hmm.
of dissociative and just leave. And like, I feel like I'm on autopilot. And it's really helpful for me to have my brain tell my body to do a thing and have my body do the thing and rise to that occasion and feel that connection. It gets me back in my body. It gets me in my life. It allows me to think clearly and not just do the task that is in front of me, but also remember that I am in charge of like structuring my life, my friendships, my conversation, my intake, like what I'm listening to, what I'm putting out there. So I do see them as hobbies, but I also see them as self-care. And I also see them as
Yeah.
like one of the biggest tools in my toolbox to be able to show up for my life. And I would say that that has been largely informed by Josh and your relationship with it. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but I think what's interesting to me is that though maybe the frequency of you, like, you know, training, you know, boxing or doing some form of exercise a little bit less, you'll come in and just like smash it. And I'm always just, I don't know, I sort of, I mean, realistically, the reason that I started doing any form of exercise was because I noticed that even if I went like a week without playing a show, I would come back to the next show and I'm like way more tired and sort of
Mm.
out of shape than the week before. And so I was like, man, it's only gonna get harder as I get older. And so I feel like I need to take care of, you know, myself and my body now, so
Hmm.
that I can, you know, that I can keep up with this. And so, yeah, so Debbie, somehow you're able to kind of just keep. I don't really know how you do it, but if I go like a couple weeks or whatever without boxing, and I come back and it's very difficult to kind of get that ball rolling again.
I do think my body
But
like knows that I haven't done it, and then it just gets all pent up, and it's just like, now smash the mitts, run as hard as you can.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
do think
yeah,
consistency is a gift.
yeah. I guess I've also talked about this before too, but I think the beginning of my running sort of just stemmed from just you know, kind of just you know, times in my life that I deal with, you know, it's like I think we all get anxious and, you know, having an overwhelming amount of anxiety. And there was just a time where I was just like, oh man, I just got up and ran out the door because I was just feeling
Yeah.
awful. And I think there's something about it that I really felt like I was in control of sort of how my body felt. And
Yeah.
if I felt tired or you know, my lungs are tighter or tired or my heartbeat's speeding up, then it's because I'm running and it's okay. and
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
extremely healing. And that was, you know, another thing that I sort of just got obsessed with. And from that, you know, also, you know, like I said, just kind of hanging out around other people who are interested in the same thing, you begin to build, you can build communities within those things that you enjoy. And that's, I think that's the fun part. And I've got friends on running apps that we all keep up with each other, and then it, you know, becomes a competition each month, and who's running the most, and then you
Yeah.
have conversations around that, and it builds kind of this cool community.
Yeah.
And and then I think it also, I mean, obviously it's really helped with the initial kind of idea and the concept of, well, I need to, I mean, everything for me sort of points back to being able to play a live show. And so it's, you know, it's been 2 years of training for that to play one show again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah, true.
But what a show.
but yeah, but it's
What a show.
but I'm also glad that I just kind of fell in love with it, because I think you know, I think sometimes the upkeep of things that you just have to do as a byproduct of doing something that you love um, can be exhausting, and you don't really look forward to it.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
when I was thinking about getting into some form of exercise and just kind of keeping my body in shape to be able to play a show, I was nervous that I was just going to hate it, and it was going to feel terrible, and be just something that I kind of have to just get through. And and just endure the pain. And like I said, I think the beginning of anything that you're learning is and can be tough.
Yeah, that's the
And
Hmm.
challenge. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
They always
so
say if it was easy, then everyone would do it, whatever.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think all that stuff was pretty difficult in the beginning. I mean, even drumming, I didn't just pick up sticks and just start playing a drum beat. It was a lot of learning and figuring things out, kind of mentally and physically, and watching a lot of videos online and going into Guitar Center and playing their electronic drums until they kicked me out. But like I said, I think the progress, and even still, I was playing drums today and trying to just figure out something that I had never done before. And when you can accomplish something and achieve something new and the thing that you love, then that I think that's what will make you want to continue doing it and
Yeah.
only strive to be better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I think that whether that is, something that is your career or something that is your hobby or something that is feels so innocuous to you, if we can sort of make sure to keep that productivity mindset out of it that says like the only reason to get better at something is if you can like publicize it or monetize it or post it on Instagram or whatever, like if it's just like getting back to the fact that like getting better at something feels good, getting
Yes.
stronger in community with other people makes all of us better. When Olympians or like Josh, you talk about when a runner sets a new record of how fast they've gone. Now that is the new record, that is the new standard, and that is what shows
Hmm.
human beings what can be done. And that sort of allows us to dream bigger and strive harder, and that allows like obviously the human race to evolve and to grow. But also I think in a personal level, it's like watching both of you, when I see you tackle something in your relationships, in your communication, if I see you learn something or adjust something or work on something, like it's so inspiring to me to know like, okay, we can do that. And that's good. And that makes them better at things. It makes them better in their relationships. It makes them more fun to be the sister of and grow and work with you. And it makes more fun to be your wife. And you're so good at being a husband. You're getting better all the time. And that is like such a inspiring. And I do think you're right, like addicting sort of feeling. And I
Hmm.
think that the idea of getting better together is that to me is like a measure of success. That is like
Yes.
that's what
Absolutely.
I
Hard
want.
agree. Yeah.
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 Well, speaking of getting better with you guys, I am going to sort of allow everyone to resume their Friday nights, but first, I would say something that has been really huge in my relationship with both of you, as well as my relationship with myself and my relationship with following my dreams and following my tasks and being productive and being a well-rounded person. Obviously you both are two people that I admire your relationship with discipline, with making the decision in advance of what you believe, holding down your convictions, holding down your boundaries, while balancing that with staying open to new experiences, feeling things out, listening to yourselves, and constantly growing and learning. And so I admire you both so much, and thank you so much for being here. I adore you both, and I want to wrap this up, as you know, by asking both of you what you guys are grateful for, specifically in this moment, but also in relation to the conversation or now or looking ahead. What are you guys grateful for?
Oh man. Do you want to go first, Chase? Or you want me to?
You can go first.
All right. I'm grateful for I think the desire to learn and grow. One thing I one thing I forgot to say about in the hobbies and activities thing. I also, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that maybe haven't started doing, any exercise or have no desire to. But one thing that was important for me to learn was that there's no real one specific right way to do that. And I think when I was younger, I saw a lot of people just in the gym at 6 a.m. and I was like, I can't do that. I don't get up early. And then I was like, oh, I can
Right.
do it. I can do it however I want. I can
Yeah.
do it at midnight or 1 a.m. before I go to bed, or I could do it in the middle of the afternoon. And I also, you don't have to run, and you also don't have to box. You can ride a
Hmm.
bike, you can walk, you can lift weights, there's so many different ways that you can
Ye-
do it. So,
Yeah, I actually want to jump in on that because I did not grow up working out. We just weren't like a very sort of exercise-y family.
Hmm.
But Chase and I did grow up very active. And I think that that's like, to me, that's what's attractive is it's not like going in and just sort of like the love that you have for running is something that I see is so real for you, and that competition and getting better is amazing. I don't have that. I don't experience that. I'm not,
Hmm.
it's sort of as like that is not for me particularly. Training, boxing absolutely feels that way. And I think it's just because for me, growing up dancing, growing up doing sort of like fighting and tree climbing and skateboarding, riding bikes, to me, it was just about like how good it feels to move my body and be connected
Hmm.
with it and be in strength. And it never felt like an obligation. And I think exercise to me was framed as an obligation. So when people are like, move your body, it'll feel better, I'm like, I
mhm,
do not want to go stand on a treadmill. And then I realized, like, oh, there are exactly what you're saying. There's 1,000 ways to do it. And it can be different all the time. And it can just be like moving or putting on a song and dancing. It can be Pilates. It can be, there's so much like on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube in terms of resources, how to watch it. And Glenn, actually, our boxing trainer, he is on Instagram and on YouTube on
Hmm.
Glenn Holmes LA, GLENNHOLMES LA. And he just like has really cool courses of how to train people and like how to do stuff. And there's just, and there's 1,000 people like that. And it might not all be for you, but definitely don't give up if the first thing or the second thing you try is not for you, or the way that the people around you do it is not exciting or inspiring to you. Like look for the thing
Yeah.
that inspires you, because then you'll get addicted to it.
Yeah. You
yeah,
can choose the way you engage with it.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
exactly. Okay, sorry, gratitude.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah, I
Gratitude.
think that's all great. Yeah, I'm grateful for our dog Jim. I'm
Dog
grateful
Jam.
for you, a wife who we have conversations like this all the time, and I think it is inspiring and really cool to have a person in my life that we have so many of the same points of view and some different points of view, and I think that that's what's really cool about a partnership and
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
somebody that you're doing life with, and so I think that that is awesome, and I'm clearly thankful to play drums. I'm grateful that it's summertime. Um, Sometimes can get a little bit gloomy in the winter, and that's okay, and we need that too. But for this current day, I'm grateful for, and
Yeah.
I'm grateful for coffee.
Yeah.
Great. Don't talk to me until I've had my
Like,
jumbo.
Now, I've never understood that. I've never understood that. That's so extreme, and I could go a day, I could go a week without coffee.
That's
And
true.
I just have to go on record to say that whoever can't talk to anybody without having coffee, that might be a problem.
Yeah,
I might
that
need
might
to
be a
examine that.
problem.
Yeah.
But also, Josh, sometimes we both snap our eyes open in the morning and you're like, good morning. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Okay, so did you want to like, and then I don't stop. I'm sure that maybe the person who came up with "Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee" had a wife like me.
The
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
thing, the
People like
real
us. Yeah.
response that I have is, "Did you already have your coffee?"
Yeah. How many cups of coffee did you have
Yes.
today?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
It's
wake
6
up,
a.m.
I take a shot of espresso, I go back to sleep, and then the second it hits my bloodstream, I am vertical
Yeah.
and rambling.
yeah.
Uh,
Nice. Chasey?
okay, so gratitude. Well, I guess the big one is that we can have conversations like this. Like I'm so grateful that we get to have like refining conversations where we get to learn more about each other and just kind of like feed off of each other, and like that just makes us better. I could not be more grateful for being able to do that with people who I just like admire and respect and love you guys so much. So I think that's like a big gratitude. I'm also grateful for, I guess, everything we talked about today. I'm grateful for Sarah, my wife, my dog Sam, for my family. I'm grateful you guys are all happy and healthy, and
Good
uh,
for you.
good for you. And uh, and to have inherited two more awesome families. It's not just like the family I have,
Oh,
but I feel like honored to, like, with Sarah and with Josh, I've inherited two families that are such testaments to the people who Debbie and I chose. You know, they're just
Yeah.
incredible people, and I
Yeah.
couldn't feel more excited every time I get to interact with my new families. I just like, oh man, what a life,
Mm.
you
Oh,
know?
I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am also grateful for my blood family, for my family by marriage, for my family by love, which is who you brought into our lives, and the fact that some of the best, most incredible, inspiring, powerful things about you and me, Chase, are things that we got from mom and dad, both
Oh yeah,
genetically and biologically, and how our brains work,
yes,
and by conditioning, but also some of the things that I and mom and dad have done so much work to dismantle. And I'm just
mm-hmm,
constantly so impressed by what they were given and set up with, and then how much they built and shaped. And like, they're just so incredible and so thoughtful and always down to do the work and to sort of make things better in every single generation, and they taught us to do that. And so I'm grateful, you're right, to
mm-hmm,
sort of
yeah.
saturate this hot pot of families with all sorts of generational things that we can sort of sift through and emphasize or de-escalate or whatever. And I'm grateful that we have so many resources, like in our
Yeah.
generation, of being able to learn about healthy communication and how to have these conversations and how to make our marriages and our relationships so good, and how to have understanding with people that we have nothing in common with, and how to have challenging and respectful discourse with people that we have too much or not enough in common with, and really learn all the time. I'm just grateful for learning all the time.
Yeah.
And
Same.
I'm grateful for water. Every time I drink water, I'm like,
Oh
this
yeah.
is a real gift. Like, I used to
Mm-hmm.
hate it. I never thought about it. I didn't understand, like, why, if someone could buy a soda or a water, why they would buy a water. And now I
Right.
realize, like, my entire body just goes, thank you, when I drink water. So
Yeah.
that's
I
one.
love water. If you guys like beverages too, make sure to head over to There You Are Pod on
That's
Instagram.
right.
There's a
That's
new
right.
episode about beverages.
That's right. There he is. I'm
That's my
grateful
last
for
plug. I
cross
swear to God.
promotion. I am grateful for plugs. Speaking
For
of
synergy. Love this.
um and animals and friends and family, and grateful for you guys for listening and giving us your Friday night to be so engaging, and you
Thank you
guys are
guys.
tweeting us quotes, and you guys are just so that's awesome. And if you enjoyed
Oh
things about
yeah.
this conversation, I'm going to slam it up on my Facebook, and you can go back and listen to it or share
Yeah.
things about it with your friends and stuff. And then to give you a little bit more information, it's just at Joshua Dunn and at the Chase Ryan on Instagram. And Chase's podcast is called Gear for You, for all of you tech heads and gear nerds. It's Gear for You Pod on Instagram and podcast platforms. And our dogs, because they're the real stars of the show.
The
Um,
best.
Chase and Sarah's dog on Instagram is Sweet Samwise. He's named after Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings. And Jim is Young, Yung, Jim Dunn with one N. And you can check out those boys. They have videos of them playing there. And if you find them and give that a thumbs up, you get 10 points.
10
And
points.
then the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
Yeah, but you get to join our hot pot family if you do
Our
like it.
That's right. You get to
Yeah.
join our Hot Pot family. And yeah, my podcast is called There You Are Pod, and we're going to have a few more of these audio rooms. Next one we are scheduling for Wednesday, I believe, and that this is two boys. The next one I'm going real feminine, so check that out. And I'm really excited to announce the guests. They're wonderful people, and I'm excited to have more incredible conversations. And in the meantime, we'll see you guys online. Have an amazing weekend. Give yourself rest, give yourself grace, grow and love and be better together. I think you guys are special. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Have lovely
Gentlemen,
nights. Gentlemen, Josh,
gentlemen,
come here. Let me
Gentlemen.
get that kiss
gentlemen.
that face.
All
Gentlemen.
right.
Oh,
Gentlemen.
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 All right,
All
gentlemen.
right. Love you guys.
Love
Thanks,
you
everyone.
guys. Bye guys.
Bye.